join us, and we sincerely do appreciate you. Would like to just kick off with introductions. We can see that already we have some council members on the call. I did cite earlier Mrs. Jacqueline Odiadi is on the call. Thank you for joining us. I can also see that we have our IPC, Mr. Olufemi Shokon. Thank you for joining us. Dialing. Thank you for your diligence. I can also see that I have my chair on the call. I saved the best to come at this point. Mrs. Efosa Ewere, FCIS. Thank you very much. I can also see that I have my vice chair on the call, Mr. Adebola Babatunde, FCIS. Thank you very much for joining the call. We will continue to acknowledge members, council members, and excos as they join the call. Again, we will kick off once it's 5 minutes past 11. We do also have, apologies, Ms. Julie Bassi, ACIS, who is our mobilization secretary, our engine room for all of this. Julie, thank you so very much indeed. Just scrolling through again to see. We have Ufoma. I think this is a different person. Okay, that's fine. Once it's 5 minutes past 11, I think we're at that point now. 5 minutes past 11, we will commence. So this is the inaugural edition of our wellness webinar. We, as governance practitioners, we acknowledge the fact that beyond having a deep-rooted understanding of the ethos and the principles of corporate governance, we need a healthy membership to drive the implementation of these principles that we canvass. And that's why we came up with this initiative to ensure that we encourage our members to be well, to stay well, to keep fit, and to generally have a healthy lifestyle. That being said, I'd like to call on my honorable chair to Mr. Fosa Ewere, please.
Thank you so much, my social secretary, Temidayo Dulaja, for that wonderful introduction. So I would say everyone present, my distinguished president, the vice president of ICSAN, the honorary president, our past chairman, our immediate past chairman who has taken his time to join us, ESCO members who are present on this call, the welfare committee led by the social secretary, and of course our partners for today's event, which is AVON HMO. I also welcome members and non-members who are here present. Thank you for taking out your time to join this inaugural edition of our wellness webinar series. It's with great pleasure that I welcome you all to this inaugural event, and it's going to be something that we have intended to adopt quarterly. We are very keen on and dedicated to promote the health and well-being and balanced lifestyle of our members. We know that we cannot function as professionals without having a good lifestyle and as well as a healthy life. So whether you're joining us as a member, whether you're joining us as a non-member, we are welcoming you. And ICSAN Lagos State Chapter is dedicated to promoting this well-being for members. Hence, we've joined in partnership with AVON HMO and set today out to discuss the topic, which is now becoming a household concern. And with the buzz and several campaigns on depression, we thought it would be good to have this inaugural edition discussing depression and the causes, the symptoms, and the treatment. We've gone past the era where we live in denial that depression does not exist. In our today's economy, we see so many people going through a lot. Some people pretend in their daily living and sometimes exhibit certain symptoms that we may not be very comfortable to either detect if it's the person's daily behavioral lifestyle or it's just because of certain situations the person has found his or herself. So we thought this would be a very important discussion for practitioners who we want to ensure that as professionals, we maintain a physical health and foster that mental resilience and build healthy relationships. And these relationships are very important, whether it's in our homes, in our workplace, or even in dealing with clients. So we have Dr. Ejinkoye Ogugwa of AVON HMO, who will be discussing this topic today. And we are hoping that everyone on this call will try to engage actively in the discussion, ask whatever questions you think would be of benefit, and take advantage of this unique opportunity to learn from our doctor on how to handle situations, particularly with your clients, with your colleagues, and even for the benefits of yourself. But when we see people exhibiting some of these symptoms. Thank you very much for joining us once again. I will now hand over back to the Social Secretary, Mr. Temidayo Odulaja, to continue from here. Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you very much indeed. Like you rightly mentioned, the issue of depression is not something that should be viewed with as a stigma. It's something that, could actually happen to anyone and to everyone. It's a very topical issue. We picked on this for very strategic reasons. Recently in the news, there was feedback provided about a certain former CEO who had committed suicide, and this is where escalation comes in with depression if not properly managed. So this is a topical issue, and we picked it because it's, important to ensure that we have a healthy membership. Whilst Madam Chair was speaking, we were joined by our Honorary Treasurer, Mr. Francis Olawale, FCIS. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining. We do also have on the call Ms. Dami Lola Akin Pelu, ACIS, who is our Assistant Honorary Secretary. And we do also have on the call Ufoma Mamoke Oberso, ACIS, our Assistant Publicity Secretary. Thank you very much for joining. Without much further ado, also to manage our time, I would like to call on the AVON team to please commence with the presentation. I'd like to call on Mr. Ajibola Bakari, who is the business manager for AVON. He will coordinate the presentation. Mr. Ajibola, please. Before you go ahead, may I just also add a bit of rules of engagement? Please reserve your questions. You do well to just note them so that we can manage our times. We've allocated time after the presentation to take all of your comments and questions at the end of the presentation. Mr. Ajibola, you have 30 minutes. We're very mindful of time. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Barrister Odulaja. Thank you very much, members of executives and members of ICSAN. It's actually a pleasure to join you all on this call. My name is Ajibola Bakare, and I am the regional business manager at AVON Healthcare Limited. Without wasting much time, even though I'm aware that we're behind schedule, as a way of introduction, AVON is one of the leading health management organizations accredited by the National Health Insurance Authority. And we've been around for quite a while. We've offered our healthcare plans to different organizations, multinationals, even institutes and associations like the ICSAN. We've actually been, discussing with the executives of ICSAN to see how we can have a very good working relationship. Aside being on these regular calls, we are also looking at having to, ensure that the health needs of the members of ICSAN is actually protected. And, you have easy access to healthcare benefits in any part of the country. So I have on the call, we have Dr. Ejikonye Ogugua, who would actually be taking us through in the next and he is one of our care coordinators in Avon, and I also have Oluwasegun Adeoye. He is also one of our corporate sales managers here at Avon Healthcare Limited. So without much further ado, Dr. Gugwa, I yield the floor to you to begin your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ajibala. Dr. Gugwa?
Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing today?
Very well. Please share your presentation, Dr. Gugwa.
Yes, please. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay.
But if you could put it in presentation mode, so it's fantastic. Please proceed.
All right. All right. Let's talk about depression and why was this topic. I can hear the background notations for this. Based on the recent news that we have the last 48 hours, it seems like safe is the most important part. And like I always like to say, and like the chair lady said, it needs to. So exactly is depression in your own language. Can you just put a typing on it? What do you consider to be depression in your own way? So can somebody just put up something on the chat? What do you consider to be, make it very, very interesting for all? Okay, negative thoughts. I can see negative thoughts. All right, very good. I'm just waiting for 2 months so that we can move on, so that we can have an idea of what we are all talking about. What the is all about. People pursuing you in your own sleep or what? When someone asks Moody, okay, prolonged unexplained sadness. Okay, beautiful. I like some professors in the house. That's a very good one. Okay, deep sadness. All right, so now we have a background for us to talk about this. We looked at depression and we noticed that one, is a common illness that has affected almost 350 people of all ages around the world. And looking at it, is #1 global burden of all disease by 2030. So imagine that somebody around you may be having one form of depression by the time it's 2030. And it's sounding strange because everybody feels that only the people that are depressed are supposed to be in the psychiatric home or supposed to be seeing a shrink, or you will have, they still hope. And depression can be what? Prevented and what? Treated. No matter what you have heard about it, it's something that we can actually be able to tackle. I love this definition, especially the second one. Clinically, we say depression is a change in the nervous system in the brain that interferes with everyday life activity for and what? Extended period of time. Cut it and they say depression. Everybody gets depressed. Well, you didn't got a raise of depressed. In a soccer match, were selected and somebody else was selected and you were. It doesn't mean that for every form of depression means that you are actually labeled depressed. It means that it's for what? For us to say you are in depression means that you have been there for what? Extended period of time. Please note that. And we like this definition, is an illness characterized by what? Persistent sadness. Please note, persistent sadness. People get sad. You may do something annoying to me and I become sad. And in the next minute, I'm okay again. But when you have person-centered and now it has something to attach to it and a loss of interest in activities that you normally enjoy. So you see, it's not just being sad, it's that I love watching football. One of the best things I like doing is watching football. So I look at and I'm not even happy doing it anymore. And carry out my daily activities for at least 2 weeks. So looking at this sense, you will know what depression is and what are the causes. To be honest with you, nobody knows. We just know that one, there's a brain structure and chemical functions that did not there's a change in neural cycles in the brain that actually supposed to regulate the mood center in the brain that is not functioning the way it's supposed to function. There's a lot of things that we said, the things that can trigger it, we all know it. Stress or fatigue. Stress can be due to your promotion, can be due to your change of location, name it. Other things like medication, hormone change, even emptiness syndrome for people that their children are already leaving their home and they are going to universities and they don't have anybody to cook for, in quotes. So you can say a lot of things can actually create depression. But where we look at is that we now say, okay, what are the types? Because if things can create depression, what are the types we have on our hands that we can look at? We have the major depression, which you will see it has been there for a long time. On chronic depression, the one that occurred suddenly and is now staying for almost the same length of time, or a bipolar that have a mood swing associated with the depression, or the seasonal depression that occurs in a particular season in the year. We have them, so we need to know what it is, and to know which type of depression you have requires us to do a proper diagnosis on it to get there. Like we say, what do you have when you say somebody is depressed? Emotionally, you notice that the person is sad, he has lost interest, he lacks hope, is withdrawn, there is always lack of energy, headache, persistent cramp or pain all over the body, and he's having digestive issues, either he's regurgitating his food or he's having this abdominal pain. In some cases, the appetite is worse, while in some people they gain serious massive weight. And that's where you find out people tell you that when I'm depressed, I eat a lot. And that's one of the signs that you should be looking out for in people depressed. And at the end of the day, you find out that this depression have a way of impacting your relationship, your career, your hobbies. And if we're not careful, it goes into a life-threatening position. Who is at risk? Surprisingly, everybody and anyone can be at risk. You'll find out why, because everybody, it's not a white man's thing, it's not a black man's disease, it's not a adult disease, it's not a children disease. It can affect anybody depending on how your neural system is being configured or wired. Our diagnosis, we notice that there's no lab test that we can use to detect the depression. So the best way we do accurate diagnosis of depression is by proper patient description of their symptoms, meaning that we take a proper medical history, do a proper medication history to be sure the person is not on any drug that is also contributing to that. Also, we rule out possibility of medical conditions that can create that kind of depression, like chronic conditions, as well, like diabetes, hypertension, and co that can lead to that. Then we also now narrow down into what to discuss the moods of those guys, the behavior, their daily activities, how they do the things that they do. For us to understand them better, for us to be able to say, are you a seasonal person, or are you a drug-related person, or are you a psycho-depressive person? So For us to know which one do you belong to, we need to have a detailed history and to be able to monitor what has happened. What are the treatments we have looked at? We have two types of treatments for most of them. We look at talk therapy, which is psychotherapy in most cases, where people actually sit down to talk you through and you find out what is going on. And we have three types of talk therapy. We have the cognitive behavioral therapy, and we have the interpersonal therapy, and also the psychodynamic or psychotherapy. If you notice, each one of them has a way of actually trying to understand or interpret what your mood is going on. None of this one deal with any form of medication in any way or form. Now, when we notice that the talk therapy is not working, we move into the medication angle of it to give you something we call antidepressant that helps in regulating the level of chemicals in the brain so that you can feel much more better or bring you to what they call the normal state. For people, you'll notice that a combination of this therapy of talk and medication appears particularly effective. It works when we use them together in most people. Maybe they're already in chronic or in major or in seasonal. So we combine those techniques to ensure we bring them into a normal state, mental state. How do we cope with this? One, we want to tell you that one, acknowledge what you are going through because denial is delay, and you keep on thinking that nothing is happening. So by the time you come to terms that come, I am not feeling good. It's okay not to feel good so that you can know what you can do. And with that, we can know that this is the next step to do about it. How do we do the next thing that we need to do? How do you get the next require help? Another way you can look at it is one, endeavor to slow down your mind because we say that they see the playing in your brain telling you that you're no good. Somebody does not like you. Things don't normally work out for you. Those CDs keep praying. So what we do is say, throw away that and try and do meditation. Try and practice breathing. Do a distance count, count backwards. All these things to control your mind and to keep your mind down. I don't know if I can get a 1-minute program just to see what you can do with this practice exercise. I want everybody in the next 1 minute, 1 minute, to please listen carefully to the instruction. I want you to listen to your breath sound. 1 minute, I will tell you when we're going to start. And I'll be checking you, please, on your cameras because I would like to see. 1 minute, we want to see, are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Listen to your breath sound.
Doc, I think it's 1 minute. You're muted, Doc. You're muted.
Thank you. Can you tell me your experience, please, starting with you? Dial. I caught you there,
It
huh?
sounds the same way it's always sounded all my life.
No,
It
now, okay,
sounds a bit normal. It sounds normal.
okay,
The rhythm is not because I'm not agitated. If I just
okay,
walked up the stairs, for instance, maybe I'll be palpitating a bit more, but I'm sitting a bit relaxed, so it sounds a bit stable.
okay. Madam Efusa,
My heart beats sound
what did you feel?
normal. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, it sounded a bit normal too, although maybe because I was conscious of the fact that I needed to listen to my heart. It seemed like it ceased for a minute. Then I consciously allowed it to beat.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for that. Now, I want to also look at it from this point of view. Because if you go home, please practice this. So that in case if you see anybody in that state, you can tell the person, okay, I practice this and it works for me. If you sit down to look through and listen carefully, you will notice that if you keep on listening to your breath sound, all the muscles in your body, everything starts shutting down and entering to a state of rest. Then the relaxation starts coming in. Then you feel almost like if you want to go into a sleep state. And that is what we're trying to do, wind down your mind, so that you'll be able to have that calmness inside you and clarity in your own mind. Okay, let's go on. Now, if we have done that, well, you'll be able to achieve. So next is engage your mind. And you can say, what do we mean by you engaging your mind? You say, first one is wind down and slow down your mind. And we're not saying engage it now. Meaning that one, being able to put your mind under control. Please learn something new. Ensure that you engage that is more than you. You ensure that even if you don't like pets, get a pet and look after a pet. I won't say get a baby because I don't. So you start with a plant, a pet, something that you watch and you can give a report over, or go and learn a skill that you have somebody that you will actually talk about what you are learning new. These things help you to put your mind away from that CD that keeps playing in your head. And that leads you to connecting with people. One of the things that depression does is that it makes sure it keeps you in the dark. It wants to isolate you. It wants to keep you in a place where nobody else can reach you. So one of the good things that you should do is one, maintain connection. Ensure you talk to your friends and family. Ensure you do video calls, phone calls, to ensure you have that contact and connection. And please, as much as possible, I would say spend time offline, meaning that don't listen to all the news you hear because most of the news we see around are news that are sad. So if you want to look for something that will make you happy, please watch those comedy. Thank God we have a lot of them. Alibaba, what's his name? Crack Your Ribs and Coke. So you can look for something that will make you happy, something that will increase your mood or elevate your mood, to put you in that mood. Instead of you listening to the war going on in the world and things happening. So you get yourself engaged and get yourself motivated up. But all these things that we're doing, if you don't practice healthy eating, to ensure that your physical body is in a good shape and in a good way, is all not good. So because it's only a good body that can carry a good mind. So please ensure we eat healthy. Please limit your alcohol intake or caffeine intake. I know some people are the first thing morning caffeine program. So please try as much as that aspect of your life and add more fruit, vegetables, and balanced meal. Please endeavor to ensure it is a balanced cooked meal. Uh, Going with that, we notice that one, if you notice, we say depression tries to keep you in the dark, and what is the opposite of darkness is light. So please try and enjoy sunlight, especially the ones between uh, 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. Anything after 11 a.m. is no more sun. That's punishment, please. So take a walk in the sun. Let the sun touch your body to get that regulation of your mood. So it helps you to create that strengthening of your immune system and gives you that awakening into your system for you. Like we said, an active body or without an active body, you cannot have an healthy mind. And that's why we say you staying active is one of the things. So endeavor to have a routine where you actually do a form of exercise. You don't need to go into a gym to do an exercise. You can actually do an exercise right in your own home, in your own room, in your own parlor. You can do those exercises. Jumping jack, you don't need a place. You can do a quick jumping jack. Running on a sport, you don't need a gym room. You can do that in your own room. So you can see there's a lot we can do within our own little space to get us into that exercise mode. So please endeavor to do it as much as possible. And finally, one of the biggest things that we don't do is sleep. Please endeavor to sleep. Most people say, what is sleep? Sleep is when you enter into a state where you are seeing your own personal vision or your future, where you see yourself becoming who you really want to be. Sleep is not the one you are seeing somebody chasing you, or you are sweating your dream, or you are trying to suffocate. That is nightmare. So you can differentiate the two. So how do you enter that place? One of the rules for you to enjoy your sleep is to ensure, one, your room is out of bounds for every other thing apart from sleep. So you don't operate with what is called your phone, your laptop. You don't take it into those sections of your room at all. You make that room strictly for sleeping because your brain will always say it is the work zone. So when you put the room as the work zone and you put the parlor as the work zone, they won't differentiate the two. So you have trouble getting into sleep mode when you get into the room. So please endeavor to ensure that the room stays that way. In view of this, we say, what are the things that you need to do? Please ensure it is important to build a support structure. What do you mean? You have friends. Don't leave them around. Remember, we say connect. This is where your support structure comes into being. You can't do it alone. I always remember a song when I say, lean on me if you're not strong. You understand? So that song should remind you that everybody will need help at one point or the other. So please rely on the other person, ensure you drive the whole thing, and let it be a balanced group. Like some people say that you can form a group among yourself. You know, we have what they call bodies that go out on Fridays, that have drinks on Fridays and do. So just form something that keeps your relationship strong and keeps your mental health going on. Uh, Now, in case it's all this and you need to reach out to somebody, please do not hesitate. Get somebody to talk to. Like I always say, HRs are the best group of people to talk with in any organization. They have this confidentiality clause among their team. So you can be sure that nobody will disclose whatever you have said to them, and they will find a way to help you as quickly as possible. Also, we have outlines that can help you. If you call AVON HMO, they can actually be able to channel you to the right therapist that can assist you. Talking of therapists, we have different types of therapists. We have the therapist that actually deals with your talking therapist. We have the other one, the counselors that walks you or guides you into what you are doing, because they work with you to know, okay, so what is the next decision you want to do? How do we do it? So they support you all the way to get you out of this wood. Then we have the psychiatrist that actually looks at all these things and tries to give you a medication along with what they are noticing you are having a challenge with. One of the things we say is that people feel that going to a therapist or seeing a psychiatrist or a counselor means that you're already mad. No, you are not. Every one person in a lifetime needs to see a therapist in one way or the other. So you can always actually have an opportunity to speak with a therapist to discuss what is going on. the birth of a new child is enough stress that can get people depressed. Getting a job with the presidency, everyone may be congratulating you and saying, well done, you have gotten a job with the presidency, but can create additional stress for you. So having a therapist or a counselor or a psychiatrist that you can actually confide with to tell them how you are doing can be a game changer for you. Please endeavor to do this to help you do better. In closing, please kindly remember, depression is something that can happen to anybody. It is not a sign of weakness. It is treatable. Please, it is treatable. If you think you have depression, you know what to do. Seek the help. AVON HMO is always there at your call. Please use the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Gugua. Mr. Bakari, before you go on, please permit me to acknowledge the presence of our Honorable President, Mrs. Fume Kundayo, FCIS. She joined while Dr. Gugua was speaking. Madam, we're very grateful that you took time to join us. Thank you very much indeed. Dr. Gugua, a fantastic presentation. I will suggest that you please, when we eventually start asking the questions, I'll suggest you just note the questions so that you can take all of them in one fell swoop to manage our time. Mr. Bakari, I know you do still have a bit of presentation which you'd like to talk through. Should we take the questions now, or do we do that after your final presentation?
Okay, so I think Dr. Gugwa, so we don't just lose the flow of Dr. Gugwa's presentation. I think we can take questions now, and then Dr. Gugwa can then answer them afterwards. We can then wrap up and then do a bit of on the need and the why basis. I think that we can take it that way.
Fantastic, fantastic. Let me also just quickly acknowledge our council member in attendance, Ms. Benedicta Sadari. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me use my position as MC to ask the first question, if you will permit me. Thank you very much in advance. Dr. Gugua, thank you. You spoke about a lot of those conventional traits that we see in someone going through depression. The person is withdrawn, the person is a bit antisocial, and all of those. But the recent trend that we've been seeing is that some people go through depression without exhibiting these typical conventional signs. In actual fact, they are very social. On the outlook, they look like they're very happy, and the next minute you just hear they've committed suicide. You know, what's driving this new trend of depression that doesn't exhibit the usual traits that you'd look out for in someone who's depressed, and then not being able to help them? Please just take note of that. That will open the floor. Please indicate by a raise of hand, and I will acknowledge and give you the floor if you'd like to ask questions. Please indicate by raising your hand. I will acknowledge and give you the floor for your question. Questions? I can't see any hands up. I believe we do have questions. Okay, Madam Chair, do you want to bell the cart?
Okay, Mr. Zulaja, thank you for that invitation. And I want Dr. Gugwa to help us throw some clarity into those who would like say live their daily lives with antidepressants. It's these antidepressants, I know it exhibits some symptoms for some people. It makes them go add a lot of weight, and then after a while they drop down. Does that mean that for those who are diagnosed to use antidepressants, they have to use it for their lifetime? Or are there times where they have to, withdraw some of these drugs and and continue without them.
Fantastic. Thank you, Madam Chair. Please permit me, I would like to call on my Honorable President, even if it's to say good morning to us, we won't miss on the opportunity to hear your voice. If you don't have any questions, it's sufficient to just say hello to us. My Honorable President, ma'am.
Good
Okay,
morning. Good morning. Naja, can you hear me?
yes, we can,
Oh,
ma'am.
excellent. Good morning to the distinguished chairman of Lagos State Chapter, Ms. Efosa Ewere, FCIS. This is a very good one, quite out of the ordinary to, touch on something this useful and important to everyone on a personal note, because whether we all like it or not, the daily hassles and hustles we face in Nigeria today are more than enough to make everyone lose it once or twice a day. So this is really, really important, and I really give kudos to the EXCO for coming up with this webinar. And I see it's going to be on a quarterly program going forward. It's really commendable. Well done. And many thanks to the guest speaker, our erudite medical personnel. I am listening with very rapt attention, and I say welcome to everyone, all the distinguished members who are on this call. Thank you so much, Mr. Dulaja, for the opportunity to speak.
We're truly grateful, man. Thank you for blessing us with your comments. Thank you very much indeed. We got a comment on the chat box. How do you differentiate, doctor, please take note, how do you differentiate depression from sadness and persons who have continuous mood swings? So far we have 3 questions. In the absence of further questions, can I ask that doctor please respond to these questions we already have? Dr. Gugwa, you're muted in case you're speaking. Dr. Gugwa, you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Now, you raised the issue, why is the new trend coming? And why is the science not showing? Like we always say, there's nothing new under the sun. The science were showing, but the question was that people themselves that nobody noticed. And that's why we say build a support structure. A support structure means that you have friends that check up on you, that you have a discussion with, that knows you in and out. Most of the time, what we have is, in most cases, our support structures are actually on the social media now, and they are on the Twitters and on the Instagrams and on the all the other channels. So what I would say is that people should be more deliberate in interacting. I ask people, how are you? And you tell me, fine. And I hold you by the hand and I look into the eye. I say, I'm not asking you to answer me, fine. I'm actually asking you, how are you? Now the person now relaxes, takes a deep breath, and now looks. Then you now get the next thing that will come out is, well, I'm going through some things, but I'm working through it. I will be there. Don't worry. Now you see the truth is coming out because we all just want to hear fine and walk away. If we all are patient enough to listen to that other side of the voice, instead of taking time to say, I've heard the fine and it's okay. It's like me saying good morning to everybody. So please, as much as possible, when you look at the next person and you feel the fine does not sound fine enough, you should slow down the word called how are you? You in particular. I'm not just saying it because it is a cliche that everybody uses. You will find that the person will be honest and open to talk to you. What is the current situation of things right now? So I think, please, that's why we don't find those trends, because most people don't actually. And if you look deep down, you find out that people they talk to just took it on the surface. I said, no, it's everything. Everybody will cope, Don't worry. It's how a man, it's what makes you a man. It's what makes you a babe. But the question about it, you don't know how deep because you never took time to spend just the next 5, 10 minutes with the person to talk about this event or the challenge or the issue he just raised that you felt, don't worry, it will be fine. Somebody lost $10 million. Because he's a millionaire does not mean that thing, you don't know where he is right now at the point in time. That $10 million may be what he's using as what they call running cost. And without that running cost, everything is off the hook. And he cannot just understand what he will do next. Because that $10 million was what they were hoping for to ensure they break even the next cycle. But we all know that he's a multi-billionaire, but that $10 million is what he is all banking on, all everything is over. For us to know how well you are coping and how well your body can cope. Our aim is not for you to stay on medication for the rest of your life. Our aim is for you to be able to learn how to cope and overcome whatever is the cause of the depression. So the drug is to give you an opportunity to fight evil and to have a fair advantage. But over the time, the coping skills you get through the counseling section, through the talk therapy, supposed to help you get better while we tail off the drugs from your system. So the third question, which is quite interesting also, was how do we differentiate depression from sadness and person who have continuous mood swing? I like that. We said in our definition of depression, we said it is what? A persistent sadness. That gives you a good definition for you to know that once the sadness becomes persistent, and it's not just only persistent, it also has some attributes to it. It says that it's also associated with what? If you can remember, let me put it up for you to see. It's also associated with loss of interest. Putting those two together gives you a better understanding of what depression is doing in the long run. Sadness. I lost a match. They beat Chelsea, is my team. Chelsea lost a tournament. They did not qualify, became sad. But in the next 2 minutes, I'm happy because my child is with me and jumping all over. I say that we made it into conference league. He is excited that we got into conference league. I'm not happy that we did not make it to Champions League. You can see, so I'm happy because my child is happy now. The sadness has gone away in this whole system. So sadness is temporary in the whole scheme of things. And if you notice again, you said mood swing, continuous mood swing. Now that's what we're talking about when we say we're having what they call the psychotic program or bipolar programs here. So when you're having those bipolar program, you have those two ends. It doesn't mean, and you have these people in your team or in your groups where we call it, the guy is very erratic. Don't mind him. That's how he is. Today you greet him, he's happy, shaking you all over. Next thing he's too serious and too focused. And nobody actually is asking the question, what's going on here? Why is it like that in the long run? Those are the things that we should look at and say, okay, can we actually do a tracing on the line of it? So those two mood swings, you'll notice that depression does not have that. It has what they call, you have that persistence in that your sadness. It's not that in one day time you are not happy, in 2 days time you are now sad again. Then in one day time, no, he has that persistency in his own track. And you notice we also label it for an extended period of time. So that helps you to know that if this thing is there and is not continuous for 3, 4, 5, 7 days, there's something wrong here. It cannot be depression we're looking at. Maybe it's something else. Let's look at it again. So those are the ones that you can look at to explain what's going on. The next one, the next question I have on the screen is, can Dr. kindly explain how depression relates to the bipolar syndrome? Yes, like we just said, the bipolar syndrome are people that have this mood swings, extreme ends of the mood swings. Today they are happy, next 30 minutes after they might just be sad or just straight off. They are jumping all over you, and next thing you two are trying to jump, and they're saying, "Sorry, what kind of behavior is that?" And you're wondering, I thought both of us were doing the same thing. No, no, I don't tolerate that such nonsense. Oh, the person was just all over you some minutes ago. So it's just something to do with the way the chemical in their brain actually interprets your actions or your reactions in that realm of things. So please be careful, because those same bipolar people can also be depressed as well. So they can have those things running inside them as well. The last question talks to us about a 14-year-old girl who lost her mom in 2023, and she has not been able to get over the loss and currently battling depression. Yes, this could be what we was calling a post-traumatic syndrome, is what she's going through at this point in time. And what she needs is care and support, and somebody to become what they call a mother figure for her, because the whole world looks as if it is lost at this junction in point. So she needs a lot of counseling, a lot of talk therapy, non-medication at this point in time, for her to be able to realize that life still presents you with more mothers than what you think you have. And you can also still make it in life with or without your mother being around. And most importantly, your mom is actually watching over you. No matter what you do, she's still concerned about you. And if you really want to talk with her, you can actually say a word. You will hear things coming back from God talking to you again. So most of the time, I say this kind of girls should be able to have a counseling section with a very good, strong support structure to help her develop into a wonderful lady she's supposed to be. Now, the last one, please comment. We will embrace sign up with a. Oh, okay.
So
Okay,
that's just
very
a
good.
comment.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's just a comment. Yeah. Okay, yes, which is also true. You can actually do that along the line. You can do that because a life coach, a life coach is different from a therapist. Let's not confuse ourselves on that. A life coach is somebody that looks at everything financial, emotional, but your therapist is actually focusing strictly on your mental health. So please, let's not get it because we have different life coaches, business coach, they call themselves life coaches as well. And so please, let's ensure that whoever you get as your life coach, please ensure that their onions are properly cut. That is bipolar hereditary. Uh, yes, in a way. The school of we have not been able to actually identify, but there is a trait in terms of that's why we ask this question. In the scientific proof for it has not been cast on stone on that ground, but we can find a link that if your mom had that trait of A, there's a likelihood that you or your children may develop it if you are being pushed to that extreme of life. Now, the trigger, that's why we say it is called triggers. Like we said in one of our presentations, what are exactly the triggers that triggers this issue? Stress, medication, diseases, overload or workload, or you encounter a loss. Most of these things can be triggered and you can enter into it. And that's why we're talking about how do you cope? How do you deal with the issue of it? So please bear in mind that this thing, yes, it may not be fully hereditary in terms of the way we look at hypertension, but in this kind of cases, a trigger can create it and you can fall into that category of having it. Is there any direct link between depression and suicide? Yeah, okay. I would say suicide is the final bus stop where you get to when you are getting into that line of spectrum of mental health. Because when you start with depression, which is the anxiety is the first guy on the list, then you enter depression before we go down the list of it. So yes, there is a strong link, and that's why we don't like to allow people to stay in depression for long, because people depressed will tell themselves, There's no need for me to be around anymore. There's no need. People don't appreciate me. I need to leave. And you may think it's to leave the organization, it may be to leave out of it, is what they are talking about. So we need to understand what the language that those people are using. When people start telling you that they talk about me, they don't like me, they're always after me. When you start hearing those kind of languages, it's time for you to know, let's dig down. Let's look into what is going on here. You understand? So I will be sure that if this person saying he's checking out, he's not actually checking out of it. He's actually going home to go and sleep and come back as well. Please, does gender in any way predispose people to depression or other? And no, it affects both. One of the things people look at it that women are a weaker vessel. I will tell you it's not true. In fact, you find that the females are actually stronger than men. When a female loses money, uh, in terms of finances, she will look at it and say, well, I'll make it back. A guy loses money may go into depression for a long time, especially if it's the one that he has banked on and hope. So you'll find that a woman can actually get out of depression faster than a man. And also, all these things is not gender based, it's actually depending on your own support structure that you have around you. And that's why I keep telling people that please know your friends, and your friends should know you in particular. They should know your likes, they should know your dislikes, they should know who you are, your true self. Be true to thyself. Because if you are not true to thyself, there's no way that anybody can be able to help you. And they will not be able to detect when you go off cue or offline. And that's one key aspect. If you're not going to take anything out of this presentation, please ensure you take out one. Have a strong network around you. Not just bodies that you go to football, to drink, or you party, but a strong network around you that knows you in any way or form. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Gogowa. Thank you very much. I couldn't help but hear you repeatedly talk about support system, support structure. You could say it's a bit ambitious, but we do hope that ICSAN Lagos State Chapter, within our own limitations, we are able to provide some sort of support to our members and their overall well-being. And this is one of the initiatives towards achieving this objective. Very quickly, Mr. Jibola, I know you do still have some presentation to share, but we're mindful of time. As corporate governance professionals, we do need to keep to our word on timing as well. So can I ask that you very quickly just run through it before we draw the curtains on the event? Mr. Jibola, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Barrister.
Please be mindful of time, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Ogugo, for that very educative session that you just had. So just to round off the session, like I introduced ourselves earlier, we're AVON Healthcare Limited. We're a subsidiary of Health Holdings, and we're in the business of providing health cover for organizations, for individuals, for even corporate organizations and institutes like the ICSAN. We've been discussing with the executives of the Lagos chapter of ICSAN to see how members can also have some sort of healthcare cover. One thing that you cannot take away is the fact that with the healthcare cover, you stand the chance of avoiding any financial burden that might come up during any medical emergencies. It could be an emergency situation, it could be a non-emergency situation, but you cannot rule out the fact that at every point in time, especially with the current economic situation, you need some sort of financial security from any unseen healthcare needs or any unplanned healthcare needs. And that's why the health cover is actually very important. Our conversation with the Lagos chapter of ICSAN is to see how members can take advantage of course, in the numbers, take advantage of AVON healthcare plans to see how we can provide some sort of a cover, and then to see how people can at any point in time when there's a need for medical needs, they can always go to a hospital without any payments, aside what had been paid upon subscription or upon enrollment. You go to the hospital for a policy year, and then you're covered all year round. Now, the Lagos chapter of ICSAN has been magnanimous enough to negotiate some sort of a discount. Now, the discount conversation is still ongoing. We haven't been able to ascertain what it's going to be, but I tell you that leveraging the numbers of members of ICSAN in Lagos, and of course, if maybe when we use the Lagos ICSAN as a pivot, we might be able to also take it across the entire, the entire nation, and see how we can have more people join. So on the basis of the numbers, the more people we have that can actually build a plan, the more the discount that we're able to give.
Mr. Jibola, your audio quality is failing.
Is it better now?
It's better, but you need to wrap it up, please. Please wrap it up.
Yes. So I was saying that we would need to coordinate this through the ICSAN, I mean, as a general body. So whoever, as much people as are interested in knowing more about maybe subsequent meetings, we might be able to have a meeting where we can talk through what the healthcare plans are, what are the benefits, and of course, we can then coordinate this through the ICSAN body as a whole, rather than having to have individual members approach us on an individual basis. So we can actually do it that way in a more coordinated and planned way. I think that's about what we have. Once again, thank you very much for having us on this call. It's been quite a very educative session, and we appreciate the chair. Let me also appreciate the president, Mrs. Fumi Ekundayo, sorry, and the chair of Lagos chapter, Ms. Fusa. Barrister Odulaja has been quite very fantastic. He's been coordinating this, and we've been having different back and forth before, today, just to have a very wonderful session that we actually had. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jibola. This is the beginning of what we hope will be a mutually beneficial journey. We will share with our members the presentation by Dr. Gugowa, as well as other information. Can I yield the floor to my Vice President, Mr. Adebola Babatunde, FCIS, to give us the vote of thanks.
Hello, good afternoon. Hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you.
Just a point of correction. I'm not the vice president. I'm the vice chair.
Apologies.
For Lagos chapter.
I stand corrected.
Yes, just
my vice chair. Apologies. I stand corrected.
I understand. Thank you very much for that. So it's a great pleasure that I do this, and I'm grateful for how the session went. First of all, let me appreciate able President, Mrs. Fumi Ekundayo, FCIS, who also happens to be the chairman of the council. Thank you for joining us today. I will also extend our gratitude to our honorary treasurer, Mr. Francis Olawale, FCIS. We have other council members on the call too, Mrs. Benedicta Chadare, and Mrs. Jacqueline Odia, the FCIS. I hope I'm not missing any other council members on the call. I will also recognize Mr. Femi Shoko, FCIS, IPC. Thank you for joining us today. This session has been very insightful, I must say. And if I will recap, Dr. Ogugwa mentioned gave us some tips that could help. He mentioned healthy eating, having exercise routine, taking some sun, having some sun exposure, having a good sleep, and building a good support system. and we also need to seek help when needed. So that has been very helpful. Depression is, let me say, one recurring issue on illness that people have been talking about, even those who don't know much about it, but it's good that we are talking about it. It, in a way, brings more exposure and help to those who need it. So thank you very much, AVON HMO, and particularly our facilitator, Dr. Obugwa, and Mr. Jubala. We are grateful for this. We thank you for the collaboration, and we look forward to more fruitful relationship with you. And to my fellow ESCO members, thank you very much for the support. And all our members that are here present, without you, this couldn't have happened. So we are grateful. Thank you very much. And we hope we continue to serve you better. So thank you, my honorary social secretary. Over to you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. On that note, Madam Chair, I believe we can draw the curtain. Would like to say again, thank you to everyone. This has been an insightful session. We hope you have derived value, having invested this time in your wellness journey. We will share further information with you in due course. Thank you, everyone. Madam Chair, I believe we can draw the curtains at this point.
Yes, we can. Thank you very much. And thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day and have a fantastic weekend ahead. Bye-bye.